Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. I'm just checking to see if the sound was on, and I do believe it is. Which is a good thing. That's a good thing. Susie's coming over. We're in our mobile location tonight. Field. We're in our field location. We're outside. It's
nice.
It's a balmy night here on the hard line, the omphalos, the belly button of America. That's where we are. And we're going to have some guests in a while. Throughout the evening, we have some guests, some excellent guests, actually. And, we got it all going here.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, we have it all going here. Okay, so I think we're getting ready to start. We're going to light a candle because it's going to get darker as the sun makes its way home in the west, as they say. Welcome to Stone's Salon.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk a little bit about a salon.
We're going to talk a little bit about what the salon concept is. Mm-hmm. And we are entertaining some dogs here. So some doggies, so that we gave the doggies some distracting bones, some bones to distract them. So if you hear some funny noises, that's what that is. We're going to talk a little music tonight, and we'll make some poetry. And I hope we won't get too serious, but sometimes we tend to get serious. It's a serious time, it feels like, we're still kind of shut down here in a lot of ways. Doesn't feel ready to open up yet. And without proper direction. Oh, there we go. And there's these lads have joined us. I invited them to be on the big show tonight. These are my friends, Monsieur and Monsieur Lazaroff, as they like to be known.
Hello, guys.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Can.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Good to see you guys. You look great.
It's nice to see you.
Oh, man.
We don't get to see each other that much because we're all
distancing.
We're living in huts.
Yeah, exactly.
We're living in our respective huts. But these guys, it looks like they're in the studio there in room 18, you call it?
Room 18.
What is it?
You should have saying it. We're together.
Room 18.
Room 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
My friends Jeff Lazaroff and David Lazaroff. And they live near us. Oh, there's the police. They live near us. We're only about a mile away, but we're keeping our own company these days, so we don't really see each other. That we live
It
in
stinks. It
streams.
stinks.
We do.
I miss you guys. It's not,
I brought you guys bread a couple times just to say hi,
Oh,
excuse to
bread.
say hi.
That's so sweet.
That was nice.
That was really
Thanks for
thoughtful.
coming on the big show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on the big show. I feel big. I feel bigger.
We have to go through our art at some point tonight. We have some cool pictures. You should,
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
they're
Yeah,
cool.
That's good. Yeah. The big show is conversational, more conversational here than when we started it. So actually, let me tell the story of how we started it. And we never really know who's watching because we actually don't see responses on the way we have it set up. So we don't really know, though. We've been surprised. Sometimes a lot of people watch. You never know.
Do you want me to monitor the Facebook Live feed?
Well, no, not really. I don't really want to know.
See if we get any questions.
I like pretending nobody's watching.
It,
All
yeah,
right, I can do
it
that.
doesn't change my process a bit.
Right.
It's a general principle in my life. So, but we do every week. We've been doing this, and it started off. We started off doing it with these guys at the Poetry House on what street is that on? Locust,
Washington.
Washington.
The
Mhm.
High Low. Kransberg Arts Foundation, the High Low.
High Low, at the High Low. We started doing it at the High Low. They really be nice, really beautiful poetry center space there for performance and to talk, and it was good. And we started off there, and then cha-cha, the virus hit and everything changed,
Mhm.
So we all went into trauma for a while, and then we started to come out again, and we started to pull together some of our activities that we were devoted to before, and this was one of them that I was keen on, something that I brought back with me from Israel. I spent a time in Dov Noy. Professor Dov Noy was a great scholar and a great mind that taught at Hebrew University for many years. And he used to hold a salon in his house, in his apartment on Balfour Street in Jerusalem. And he invited the most interesting people in the country at the time to his salon. And he took the concept from when he was a student in the United States. He studied with a world-renowned folklorist named Stith, Stith Thompson, at Indiana University. And does Jeff go there?
Yes, my alma mater.
There you go.
He's a Hoosier.
Yeah.
So before Jeff's era.
And Julie too.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Mhm.
Stith Thompson held court there, and many generations. He raised up many generations of students and sent them all over the world. And he introduced them to this. He was a Quaker, and he introduced them to this Quaker custom of getting together on one night a week, and people would just come and just talk about what they're into, and go around the room. And that's how it was in Jerusalem when Dov Noy held court. You went around the room, and oh my God, most interesting people I met there. And it opened up many, many doors for me. And I was invited there because nobody was doing music, really, any music there. And he I would bring a song, a tune, and he loved that. He loved music. So I would do a tune, and that got me my invitation. And
What kind of song would you have been doing?
I would do some really, odd, strange songs I didn't think anybody were familiar with. And of course, he knew everything about it. He would also comment on what people were sharing because he was such a wide-ranging mind, and he would talk.
Would you do covers or would you do?
No.
Oh, okay. You do your own stuff.
Just like I would do a Ladino song, or I would do a song in Arabic, or I would do a really holy song from one of the Hasidic dynasties, stuff like all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I never could pull anything around him. He would fill in what this song was about. Like one night I did this tune. It goes, goes like this. I do it real slow and real long with sinewy melody. So Dovnoy would say, "Oh yeah, that's," and he'd tell the story about when one of the Alter Rebbe, he was in jail. He was jailed because sometimes the Hasidim went after each other. You know, they were jealous of each other, and sometimes they would use the Russian government, you know, to get in between their spite. And so they sold out somebody. So the Rebbe ended up in the jailhouse for 50 some days. And next to him in the cell, and the windows opened on cells onto the Carpathian Mountains. And next to him in the cell was a guy, a highwayman, a hetman, they call him, you know, with a Muslim guy on a horse. And he was the Russians had tried to catch him for years, and they finally caught him. The Tsar's army finally caught him. And he was a big thief, you know, and a notorious guy. His name was Shamil. So when the Rebbe got out of jail, he started teaching his people this melody. And if anybody asked, why do we sing this melody, he said, this is what Shamil would sing.
Oh, that's so cool.
He would look at the mountains out the window of the jail. So the melody was a melody of longing for the heights of the mountains, which was a spiritual image for the Rebbe of the soul longing for its home in godliness. And so he had everybody singing this song, and the story was also passed along with it. So I imagine people probably thought that the story was a little fanciful, you know, until the fall of the Soviet Union, and then people could get into the libraries behind the Iron Curtain, and they found pictures of this guy and everything. This guy named Shamil. It turns out that's probably the way it happened. He was this crooked guy, you know, and this next to the jail the Rebbe was in, and he hummed this tune, you know, looking at the mountains, and it moved the Rebbe, and he taught everybody to sing this tune in a way of ultimate kind of spiritual longing, and we're still singing it. So Dovnoy would know that story, you know.
You couldn't pull that one past Dubnoy. I feel like it's like our cousin Stuart. If we ever try to play like an old folk song, we can't get one past cousin Stuart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came here a bunch of times. Dovnoy came here a bunch of times on lecture tours and stuff like that. And I would generally, he'd give a lecture somewhere, and I would open for him. You know, it was so silly. He's giving an academic lecture, and I opened for this academic lecture, singing his song. It was so funny. But he wanted that. He wanted that. He was a really beautiful man. May he rest in peace. He died this decade, earlier in the decade. So I met many, many beautiful people, and that's okay, Zachy. Thanks for thinking about us. So
is the big show on CRC's site? Is there a Zoom link somewhere?
So it should be on the, what do you call that?
The Facebook, the CRC Facebook page.
But also on the, what do you call that other thing?
The website?
No, the room.
The Oneg?
The Oneg. So it's on it goes to something, and it also goes to something called
my folks they don't have Facebook.
It's a YouTube, FaceTime, the Oneg, and then something that has a funny name.
I don't know what that is.
I can tell you where all the places it goes, but
Cool.
But we're kind of excited about first of all, congratulations on your album that you guys put out.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
wonderful. I just
Thank
loved
you.
the pieces and loved how it came together. And we're excited about this next one that's coming
Yes,
out.
yes.
I feel like I should have a like a product, you know. I don't have the biscuit yet. It's all digital.
A biscuit.
Oh, right.
The biscuit.
So tell us about your album.
Yes.
Well,
You call it an album?
I think this is an EP.
Yeah, it's an EP. We like to call it an album.
But yeah, I think we were in the middle of writing some new material with the band. We had just wrapped up your album and mastering, and the new one, Dressed for Class, and then like you said, the virus hit, and all these songs we were working on with our band, kind of the most collaborative thing we've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
We actually kind of like
Writing the chord progressions in rehearsal and stuff like that.
we had like 5 or 6 of these songs, and they were kind of like not about anything kind of like as political or serious, or they were kind of more, we were trying to write some different stories.
There were attempts at levity. We felt like we needed some levity, and so we were trying to write more just really good feeling grooves, and then kind of lighter stuff, and then boom,
Yeah, and then this hit.
then the
and
virus.
I think we were both pretty uninspired for the first couple of weeks, and guitar wasn't feeling that great. And then Dylan put out his first original song in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Murder Most Foul. Yeah, it was his longest song. He put out the longest song he'd ever done, and it was just great. And I don't know, it just kind of just got us inspired. And from there, we just started writing songs. And within about a week, we had them all.
Yeah.
Within about a week, we had them and recorded.
About 2 weeks all recorded. We had not seen each other at all. And I built a little room within the studio for Jeff, so he wouldn't really have to come all the way in the room. He could be at the doorway. And then we recorded 2 sessions. We knocked him out. Just him, the first time we'd ever done just me and him on acoustic guitar. So, and actually, I think we were going to do 3 songs. And then the rabbi and I were having a really cool conversation about our grandparents and kind of like feeling so connected to them. And who let the dog?
Sorry.
And yeah, and so the rabbi was writing poetry. We read every day, and so we were talking. Actually, we were having this conversation about kind of our ancestors a little bit, and how kind of it's interesting how you never understood how they could get through certain tough things that they did. And you know, it's just cool. He goes, "I wrote that poem this morning." He sent me the poem, and I kind of wrote some music to it. And then Jeff finished it off, and so we started using a couple of Rabbi's tunes, poetry. First time we've adapted his poetry for some of our songwriting style. So it was really cool. And then Jeff found another one.
Yeah, then you had another one that you put out there, and we worked on it. And so it was really fun. It was fun how your words really it inspired rhythm and inspired the melody. You know, so it really felt like
that was weird.
It was weird. Yeah, it was just weird. It wasn't just like words on a page. It really kind of jumped off very musically, and it was easy.
And they kind of fit the
I'm not
content.
sure I know this whole story.
Yeah, well, it was like a daily, you know, we had that big conversation. It was like that song. It was like as I was reading the poem, I had a guitar and I just played those exact chord progressions. And then Jeff was like, he kind of shaped it, and that's where that one line that you said was just kind of a offline became the hook. And,
oh yeah, that Malachi, right? I didn't even remember that line. Right.
yeah, so that was cool, and that was 2 of the 6 songs.
Yeah.
And,
How do people access the new album?
iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, Bandcamp, Street Corner. Yeah, all the streaming sites, YouTube's.
It was such an interesting project for us because we didn't expect it to happen at all, and then we didn't really. Again, our cousin Stuart's kind of been encouraging us for a while to do a duo thing because he likes our duo thing a lot. But we have our group of musical brothers and sisters who we play with, and we love playing with them. And so it's just the thought of taking the time away. It was only so much time to make a duo record. We would never do it because we wanted to, make music with everybody. And but this kind of forced it to happen. It was just where you didn't have the ability to be with anyone else. Even I was locked in Grover's, drum shield away from David, you know. So
all the way across the room.
What's the name of the EP?
Breathe with you.
Breathe with you.
Breathe with you.
Okay, I'm going to put it on the Facebook thing.
Yeah,
Breathe with you.
Breathe with you, which feels
Bro-
kind of like an intense title at this point in time with everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's relevant.
I know, but I mean, we wrote these obviously before the tragedy of George Floyd and everything, you know. But it feels weird. It just feels weird.
We actually practiced with the band last night for the second time, and distance, like 10 feet apart. And everyone's kind of got an acoustic instrument lightly plugged in, and it's like the weirdest thing in 3.5 months since we played together. And so yeah, I'm playing those new songs with them and learning them new material, and both those songs play well.
Yeah.
Are we gonna hear something?
Let us hear some.
Can you play something?
I tell you
We can
what,
try, see what it
if
sounds
you
like.
if you play that
Better?
Malachi one, I'll read the poem after. That might be interesting.
Try it. It's a lot. You know what? Ours is long. We should probably
Shorten it.
we'll shorten it a little bit.
Yeah, do some of it.
We'll do some of it then, so give you room to do the poem.
Understand you better now, and need to bring offerings. Understand the promise. Remember grace and instruction given from the past. The long past and recent past. Understand you better now. Ones I've known in my own time, who lived through unspeakable events. I often wonder how they survived that, living from the past, the long past and recent past. I understand that better now. It's what happened, so we survive. We'll tell those who come after us, in ways we speak and ways we don't. Living from the past, the long past and recent past. understand the prophets who railed against all the big shots, given from the past, the long past and recent past.
I understand you better now. Malachi, last of the prophets in our book. I understand the need to bring the offerings. And I understand the promise if we remember the graces and the instructions from the long past and the recent past. I understand better now. In my own time, those I have known who lived through unspeakable events. I often wondered, how did you survive that? And always it was the implied but clear. It's what we did. It's what we had to do. It's what happened and we survived. I understand that better now. We will tell those who come after us in the ways we speak and do not speak. This is what happened. We survived. It's what we had to do. We took care of each other and we looked to a better future. I understand too the prophets railed against the big shots, who knew we had awful leadership has now become tragic. I understand that better too, not to trust the agents of change there, but in the strength of endurance here. I understand you, Malachi. You made that distinction, who you trust, who you do not trust, who does good. You called out the difference between the righteous and the wicked. I see with your eyes. I see that now. You will send Elijah the prophet, who will resolve and restore the hearts of parents to their children, children to their parents, all of us turning to each other more, listening better, loving more. Nothing will be the same after as it was before, and much of that will be good. Does anybody doubt we had what to learn?
Nice. Beautiful.
Uh-oh, did we freeze up?
Uh-oh. Maybe.
I think you guys froze up.
God, that was great. That was just so beautiful.
Can you hear me? You froze on my screen. Frozen. Oh,
Oh, we lost. They're
do I
gonna
have to
try
come
to come
back
back.
in? Hey, that was sweet, man. I loved
Yeah,
it.
that was beautiful. Maybe you'll do one from your new album. Your album.
I don't know. We'll see. Let's get these dudes back here. Come on in.
So I participated not in a protest, but in the vigil at Art Hill. It was organized by the Muslim community, and you know, there were lots of people, but they were, you know, really spread out all over Art Hill. It was socially distanced. Everybody had masks on. A lot of respect. And some of the protesters that were there said something really interesting. They said, we needed this. We needed this because it was quiet.
You're back?
They
Are we
back?
back? What
Yeah,
happened?
you're back.
Where did we go away?
Right when I ended.
Oh, yeah. We
Oh.
heard everything. We heard
Okay.
everything. We
How-
didn't miss anything. We
Oh, good.
just
We
kind of
came
at
in.
the end froze.
Man, that was so cool. I loved hearing that poem. That was neat.
Yeah, the poem was great.
Yeah, that was a nice doing it together was really swell.
That was fun.
I think that's a pretty good example of how your new record kind of happened. What people just got to see there with what we did with the poem and the song. This new album, you know, Dressed for Class, we've been working on for 7-8 years, maybe long.
Want to do this a second, then get back to you?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Sorry, we were in the middle.
Killing time.
Oh,
That's
I'm
good.
sorry. Oh no.
Susie was jamming here. Susie was
Oh, let her
jamming.
jam.
I was,
She
just,
was-
I was just killing time.
She
We'll
was
come back
jamming.
to it.
No, let's follow
No.
this out and then
Yeah.
Susie will jam some more.
I feel terrible now, Jeff.
It's okay. You didn't do it on purpose.
Like when we're not on the stream, it didn't even happen.
So we made this other piece together that over the last couple of years, and some of that I don't even I have to say, if I'll be a Rachel Maddow here, and I'll tell the story, and then I'll ask you, am I telling this right?
Right? You got it exactly right, Rachel.
Because I honestly don't remember a lot of it. Really, a lot of the circumstances were just, you know, strange for me. And and every time I came over there, and you guys rolled tape. We call it rolling tape. Oh no, they're frozen again.
Oh no.
That's not cool. Oh yeah, I'll keep
But
talking.
frozen with such great smiles.
Good smiles.
Beautiful smiles.
I'm gonna keep talking until you come back.
Yeah.
So I came over
can they
there.
see that they're frozen? I imagine
Well, they can hear us. They can hear
Okay.
us. So I would go over there during this period of my life, and David would we'd be in the studio. David said, "You got anything?" You know, and I always had stuff with me, so new stuff that I'd written. So I would pull that stuff out and lay it out, and then a lot of it I don't even remember laying down, honestly, really. So, but we had recordings for all this, and then David came with me with some of the stuff back at me, and I thought it was really beautiful. He had worked it over in the studio with the other guys, and it came out just lovely, lovely tracks. There was like 12 tracks, and there was really only one that I hesitated on. So we pulled that one. We have 11 tracks, and they're finished, and they're lovely, and they're there you go. So I was,
trying to go straight.
huh?
Sorry.
I was telling the story. So did I get that right?
Got it right.
Okay. So I was telling the story of how we made this piece, and I really was just so surprised when you came back at me with it, with the almost finished product. I thought it was so beautiful and unusual, and such an interesting mix of qualities, and all of it was kind of like spiritually centered, and then it had music and some interesting mixes that I wouldn't have expected and really surprised me, and some sound design laid on top, and it just seemed so great to me. I just loved it. And so we have 11 tracks, and then the virus hit. So what do? And David even put together some videos that are really great, and we'll to go with a few of the tracks, and we'll roll those out next week, right?
Yeah, you know, it's I think the initial five songs that started this record, it says my internet connect is unstable. No kidding. Sorry. Am I here?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So far.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
To find another way. Yeah, so we those 5 tunes, the first one we played for you, all came out of a couple sessions you did that we had kind of set up on like a Tuesday night during a normal rehearsal. and you kind of were sending me stuff on your phone that had a certain feel. It was like this new genre. I kind of felt like that you were writing. I'm Not Afraid. There was one you did for Rosh Hashanah at that time of the year. That was Empty Me. And these really great kind of just huge songs. And yeah, so I wanted to get them quick. And I did. I got 5 or 6 of them with our band at the time, Carpenter, on full Hammond B3 organ. Those were really cool sessions. And those were the first 5. And then we loved it. And then we kind of started going back into the hard drives and finding these things we've done over the years, because we've made albums together, but usually they're focused, like we're going to do this thing. But this was a little bit of, all of a sudden we realized we had this kind of new style that we'd kind of been working on for a long time, like what you just saw, where we were doing a song and you did some poem, and there's song and poem and singing together and a lot of jamming. And so we have all this stuff, and then kind of start reworking some of that old stuff and redubbing, and we were doing all sorts of cool experiments. And so the album went from 5-song EP, which we were going to do initially with just those ones from that one session, but then it built from stuff from probably 2012, 2013 through 2020. So
That long?
mm-hmm.
Wow.
But like, you know, so there's some really old pieces on there, but we kind of updated them and did poetry on top of it. They kind of became experimental templates for a while. So it's a cool collection, 11 songs and kind of a few different configurations of Brothers Lazaroff too, which is kind of fun to hear the different periods. Like, but we kind of melded it well. Jacob Dietering did all the mixing and mastering. He really made it sound sweet. So he took everything we did in here and kind of strengthened all the sounds and said, hey, you guys should re-record this vocal. He kind of was a coach to make it kind of do that. So yeah, excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
So what guitars are you guys playing there?
This is my 1963 Epiphone Caballero, made in
Wow.
Michigan.
Oh.
Made in Michigan, made in Kalamazoo. It was
Kalamazoo.
it was made soon after Gibson bought Epiphone and before they started making Epiphones overseas. So this is a American-made Epiphone. So
Cool.
Nice sound guitar. You got it at Gravity Strings
I got it at Gravity Strings. Yes.
on Broadway.
Yeah.
Billy Barnett sold too.
Yeah. Billy Barnett helped me with that. Great guitar player. Billy Barnett.
Yeah, man, Kalamazoo.
This was
Also
actually
the home of the Checker Auto Company.
really.
Remember the Checker Auto?
Yeah.
They made cabs.
Wonder some of those little-
I think they stopped making cars in the early 50s, but our teacher, Dr. Marcus, had one.
He did.
Really? He had a cab.
He liked it because he could drive and keep his hat on. It's a
He
beautiful.
was something.
He was something else. He said, "Boys, go out there and get yourself fired." So what are you playing, David? You playing that?
This is a '94 Les Paul. Paul Reed Smith Swamp Ash Special with the Les Paul pickups and then a little Seymour Duncan. This was my college guitar that had kind of gathering up a ton of rust and dust, and you got it fixed up last year, and I've been enjoying playing it.
But show them that guitar.
Oh shoot! This is my special birthday present from my family. Is a 1958 00 18 Martin.
Oh, I recognize that.
You have one in as well, right?
Yeah.
That's a good story. I don't know if you could tell it, but that's a good story. How you got that guitar?
I got it in a barber shop in Newport, Kentucky.
You drove from St. Louis?
Yeah, no, from Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Oh, that's not so far. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good find. That's the reason I have that. That's why it's my dream guitar. You have one, and Stuart has one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stuart has a.
He's got a 0028, I think.
Is it what year though?
His is, I think, 47.
So between his and yours, that became my favorite. That became my special. I kind of realized that was my favorite.
Mine's a 47.
Oh, okay, that's what Stewart's is, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
They're probably
Yeah, those are beautiful guitars. So the other thing I wanted to mention was when we made these pieces together, you know, they turned into a form that was new. It seemed new to me. It wasn't anything that we had done before. It was a different mix of qualities, and it felt so fresh to me. And it inspired me to kind of do something really far out, I thought, which was Susie asked me to help her out with a thing at the synagogue where we did this a day of service, a Jewish Muslim day of service. So I was asked to perform a piece with some other as a Persian man who was who loved Rumi and Hafez and those poets, those Persian poets. And she asked me to if I would do something with them during that day of service, and I said sure. So this was after we had done most of this stuff, and I don't know, I was just feeling jazzed by getting back to work that way, you know. So I sat down and I wrote this crazy piece about you know, because if you write a poetry or a story or whatever it is, it's yours. You know, you can put it's an occupation of the skin. You can put anything you want into it. So I decided I wanted all these characters that I love to have a conversation together. So I wrote this piece in which Maimonides, Yehuda Halevi, great Spanish Jewish poet, Hafez, Persian poet, Rumi, Leonard Cohen, and James Baldwin. And James Baldwin are having this conversation about what constitutes whole. And it just surprised the hell out of me that I wrote this thing. And it was in 10 parts. And some of it rhymed. I never write with rhyme. And everything about it just shocked me. And then when I got to the gig, the man who showed up, who was supposed to do the Persian part, he brings this guy with him who's a world authority on Rumi, world authority on Rumi.
Yeah.
So I'm not easily intimidated, you know, but I have to admit, I was intimidated. Because he tells me this guy's the world authority on Rumi.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, but by the time it was time for me to do my gig, he had left. But I was going to lay it out anyway. So I did the piece, you know, and I realized when I did the piece, I realized this is something, you know, this is really something. When I did it, I was so delighted with it. You know how it is. Sometimes you don't know until you do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it, but I didn't really know until I performed it. And it was just great. I loved it. And then you came with this thing where you brought it to me in this whole different way.
Yeah, you know, I think that was interesting about that tune is I think it was between the two Joe's shows that we did where you were the featured poet and we started doing this material and you were bringing this kind of, and you had, I don't know, I think it was partially that scene that was kind of like really receptive to that little thing we were mining, that, you know, that groove, poetry, song. And so it was cool. I think you did that the second one. And the first one, you've done a few other ones that went over real good like that.
I love that piece.
Is that piece on the new album?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of my favorite tunes on the new album, you did not like after this, you know, some of them you're like, okay, that song I don't really, I still like the music. I was a little attached to the music, but I was ready to let it go. And then you brought this new poem. And so that's when we put that. It was one of your progressions from Rosh Hashanah. And then Teddy kind of like reharmonized it, made all these weird, but it's just these two chords, this F sharp minor G groove that you do, one of your, like, you know, your style jams.
Groove poetry, baby.
Well, when are you gonna put you created these beautiful videos? When will those go out?
I think we're thinking about this weekend or Monday, maybe. Tonight, I guess, was our kind of reveal. We're not
debut.
Sure. We're not sure if it's a boy or a girl.
It's a reveal.
We were told. So
yeah.
It's holy. The stuff is holy, man.
The videos are amazing. The way you put the music with the videos too are beautiful.
Yeah, it was fun to do. Jeff and I haven't not done much like that, and so we started experimenting with some of the movie things people were doing.
Can't wait.
Keeps you connected to those were the one that we did, the live one was fun to connect with.
So let me make sure that everybody across the world knows who we're talking with here. There is a guy that watches from Paris, by the way. So I'm not exaggerating. So there's people all over that do watch this.
And Israel. Israel.
And Israel,
Mary,
and
we always
Paris.
have Mary from Israel.
So I want to say hi to Max in Paris because Todd tells me that he watches, and Miri, hello in Israel, she watches. And
I just keep thinking of the bread products. You know, you said Paris, and I just think of like the bread, and then you said Israel, and I think of the pita. So I just
Some carbs.
That's all I was just thought of the carbs when I was thinking of where these people are watching us from.
So I want to make sure everybody knows who I'm talking with here. These are my friends, Jeff and David Lazaroff. They front a band called Brothers Lazaroff, and they are here with us in St. Louis. We live near each other, and I'll tell a tiny bit of the story about how we met, and then you'll tell me if I got it right. So I think I was doing a wedding, and I came to the wedding, and you guys were like on a wharf or something. I remember being on
Yeah, we were on a dock. We were on a dock.
Yep.
I like a wharf better, but we were on a dock.
A dock that was supposed to accommodate a hora
Right.
and a
Oh, okay.
7-piece band.
Like a boat dock.
It was,
Yeah.
it wasn't that large, but it was
right.
cool.
So you guys were playing the music, and that's how we connected the first time. And I said, yeah, I heard about you guys. And you said, yeah, well, we heard about you. And then we started to hang around together. Did I get that correct?
What about David?
Oh no!
David
See, you missed the whole. Man, you missed the Shlomo connection.
Oh man, I missed. See, I knew it.
No, so here's the. I had when I first moved back from Austin, I went to your High Holidays.
Oh yeah.
At the J, but we didn't meet then. And then we did that wedding together.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, I remember, I think that Gail left town. I was home alone.
Okay, let me tell this part.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then you tell me
right.
if I got it right.
So we did the wedding, and then
You tell me if I get this right.
Yeah.
So in those days, I was doing this event once a year on the yard side of Shlomo Carlebach.
Yeah.
In honor and memory of Shlomo Carlebach, I'd sing a bunch of his songs and stuff because he got hey girls, he got started here. And so something always happened interesting when I would pull out his tunes. And you came into the gig with a guitar case.
Yes.
And I looked at the guitar case and I said, that's a nice case. So you said, can I sit in? And I looked at your case and I said, yeah, it's a nice case. It could probably play. Because one time I was doing a gig in Flagstaff, Arizona, and a woman showed up with a violin case and she said, can I sit in? And she couldn't play a lick.
That's not good.
And I said, yes, but
it's a long night.
I didn't pay attention to the case. I looked at that case and I said, okay, yeah, sure. And then you pulled out the guitar and you started playing and you could play. That was it, right? Is that right?
Yes, but there's another. Jeff and I were honestly, this is great. Jeff and I were studying with Rabbi Landa that day. We had no idea it was Shlomo's yard site. And we ended up talking. He told us the story about how Shlomo lived on Palmar and learned to play guitar here, and he knew him, and his brother was here too. We had this huge Shlomo conversation, and I had stayed at the Moshav near Tzvi, and so I had that connection. I was like, I was interested. So anyway, I look at my phone, Facebook, and I get an invite to a work Shlomo Carlebach yard site workshop where learn the songs of Shlomo. So I thought that meant, are we unstable? And I thought that meant learn the songs, bring a guitar and learn the songs of Shlomo Carlebach.
Oh, that's what you thought.
But it was like while I'm studying with the Rabbi, we were studying with Landa and Rabbi Landa and all about Shlomo for a half hour. I looked at my phone and we didn't even know it was this yard site. So I thought it was a sign. I went to the concert and then we asked you to do the hullabaloo the next week. I was like, you should do some poetry at our hullabaloo. We were doing it after Kinky. So it was a very 2 years at our house. We learned we were all from Detroit was ancestors in Detroit. So that was,
and then you guys said to me, you said, Kinky Friedman's coming to town. I said, really? That's hysterical right there. And then you said, yeah, he likes to do an early show, but there's no later show. You want to do gig with us? And I
Friday
said,
night.
Where's it at? And you said, what's the name of that place?
Off Broadway.
Off Broadway. I said, well, I don't know the place, but yeah, when is it? Is it Friday night? I said, well, I work on Friday night, but yeah, it's late. It's okay. So I went down there late and wow, what a scene that was. And there was 20 musicians on stage and we did that whole thing. And you know what? People dug it. People loved it. That show did. People loved it.
And that was a wild night.
And we looked at each other and we said, we got to record this. So we recorded like 2-3 nights later, right?
I think it was a little under a week because it was an early show. Hanukkah was like a while. So yeah, we went in and kind of made this 8 nights. So for each night, different track and cut it all live to 2 tracks.
We got a
So
good
for those who don't know, the record's called 8 Nights, and so it's a series of 9 poems that we put to music, and it's a fun one, and it's the basis for our annual Hanukkah hullabaloo.
Yeah, now it sells out a theater.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
All right, I gotta let Susie tell her story because
I want to hear it.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
I'd
No.
rather hear.
No,
Maybe
come on.
We should do the music and hear the poem.
no, I want to hear you.
Let's do the confer.
Huh?
Susie, I want to hear you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just finish saying
What she
and
was
then,
doing.
And then maybe we can end with that poem and that music.
Sounds great.
You know?
Okay.
The confer. James Bond.
So when I was trying to fill some time there, I just
I
mentioned.
just want to make sure everybody knows this is Susan Talvey. She
B.
occupies the room in the house, and here and tonight she was out, and she's going to talk about what she was doing.
Well, I was just mentioning how interesting the vigil was. There was a prayer vigil on Art Hill, and I was invited to be one of the speakers. It was brought together by the Muslim community, which was wonderful, that pulled together, but it was all faiths, and there were really quite a lot of people. I think people really wanting a place where people would have masks on, they wouldn't have to march or protest, and there would be social distancing, and there was plenty of room on Art Hill for people to feel comfortable, I think. And but one of the things that really touched me was one of the protesters that I've known, since Ferguson, really, and was always leading the protests. He was there, and he just was so dear. He came over and he said, "I needed this so much." He said, he said, your words really spoke to my heart. And he said, I usually, when you're in these protests, all you hear is people screaming, right? And you really don't get a chance to talk to anybody or touch each other's hearts in those kinds of ways. It's just a lot of noise. And that's just what he said. He said, I needed a place where there wasn't so much noise. I needed a place to be able to hear, and it was pretty powerful. We went down on our knees for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Wow.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. I was really moved by how long it took for George Floyd of blessed memory to die. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That was a long time for people to witness that, a long time for those officers to participate in that. It was a long time. So lots of people continuing to show up and finding their lane, finding a way to do that. And this was nice. This was good. And it felt every bit as powerful to shout out to the heavens. To disrupt the heavens, really, and draw God back into the story. That's, I think, what we tried to do.
Wow.
That was tonight.
So you guys, you wanna play a tune before we say goodnight?
Sure. Want to do the? Which one do you want to do? You want to do the confer? Or you want to do?
I can do part of it if you want.
What other ones for any of the other ones be easy? We can do part of that or one of the full ones. What are you thinking?
I'd like to do part of confer. Would be great.
Do it.
You can. I can play that over anything. Do that over anything. Maimonides, Hafez, Rumi, Yehuda Halevi, Leonard Cohen, and James Baldwin confer. All of them working the repairs from over the divide. They chose me to transcribe. I choose you to imbibe the subject of what constitutes whole. WHOLE. Maimonides taught, keep it pure. When truth arises, minimize surprises. Disorganization, confusion, distraction, tenses. Build around the truth with fences. Buttress guidelines and protection. Above all, organization. Take what you know and categorize. That's what I did. 12th century. This will help even if will not stand. You will be remembered for having planned. James Baldwin dying in 1987. Wholeness may not be our aspiration. Everywhere splintered, what we do to fill the cracks with gold tincture. Beauty, be bold. You may even give up the language of whole. We are building this way, and others, some of us make repairs, some of us visioning beauty there. In our flaws, we build a menorah in the air. Above our heads, a vision. With this light, we might illumine the world. The menorah made entirely of flaws. Each person sees a different flaw. What one person praises, another person curses. I have fashioned a menorah entirely out of flaws and verses. Now I begin its repair. Hey, thanks. That was the beginning and the end of a piece that's on our new collection. That's David and Jeff Lazaroff is my guest, and the magnificent Susan Talvey.
Yay.
I just want to say thanks to Rabbi Susan for, representing so well and being out there and inspiration for so many. So the story is, it's great. So glad you're out there.
We love you guys.
We
Yeah.
love you.
Thanks for coming to the big show.
Love to the family.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
They-
I'm just happy that my internet stayed stable for the rest. That was starting to be.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Something's got to be stable around. It was saying internet unstable.
I thought we were walking the line there a little bit.
walking the line.
We did
On the
it.
big show, walking the line on the big show.
You know, the one song of yours, the poem "Walking the Dogs" has been really fun to play live. By the way,
Oh yeah,
so you're gonna have to play. We're gonna have to jam that. That's another really.
you want to give us a taste, a little taste?
Sure.
We should.
Taste.
And we'll go out with that. Walking the dog.
If you get, but you got to do something though. You gotta. You think you can find? Do you have it?
I forget
It'd be
what
cool.
it's.
Walking the Dogs. I think you call it.
I don't think it was called walking the dog. It was with I don't cook.
I don't cook that much. I don't cook that well. I've just been walking the dogs. Can't read. I can't concentrate. We'll give you a taste if you find something. Sorry.
I don't cook that much. I don't cook that well. I've been walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. I don't read that much. I can't concentrate. I've been walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. I ain't been practicing much. Like I said, I can't concentrate. I've been walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Just been riding a bunch. Man, I can't seem to stop. I've been walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Walking the dogs.
Oh, here comes the bridge.
So out of control. Along for the ride. Ain't no going back, gonna burn off the edges. Only one thing I know. You must honor and mourn. I've been walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. But I can dream they go down in flames. I've been walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Walking the dogs. Walking the dogs.
You cooking? Not really. I don't cook. I don't cook well, that is. Reading? Not that much. Hard to concentrate. Walking? The doggies, yes. They think this is heaven. Practicing? Not that much. Again, hard to concentrate. Writing? Writing, yes. So much to write about. I am being written, is what I mean to say. Something writing me. Maintaining control? On the contrary, no control. I'm along for the ride. This much for sure. Practicing radical acceptance. Thoughts about the future? Only this, I believe everything will be different. There'll be no going back. There'll be some kind of renewal I can't figure from here. I'm being taught. It's working me, so to speak. We will burn off the unnecessaries and crystallize clarity.
I've been walking the dogs, walking the dogs, walking the dogs, walking the dogs, walking the dogs,
Those doggies probably need walking.
walking the dogs, walking the dogs, walking the dogs.
Hey, that was great.
That's cool.
Thanks, fellas, for coming to the big show. Thanks, everybody, for watching the big show. Thanks, Susie, for living with me and being at the big show.
I love the big show.
So we'll see you next week, everybody. Tune in. We might have some. Actually, we might do some culinary.
Oh,
We
cool.
might do a culinary session next week. Yeah, we got
Good
some
direction.
notables. From I won't say anymore. Anyway, surprises.
Before you know it, you guys are gonna have sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors.
That's
Yeah.
what, you know. What's the pen company? What pen company are you trying to get the endorsement of? You should start talking about products, you know.
Yeah, merch.
Merch.
And don't forget to look for the Lazarov's new EP
Right.
called
Breathe with you.
Breathe With You. It's on Amazon. It's on
Nice.
Bandcamp. I put it on there. Bandcamp, BAND.
iTunes.
iTunes, Spotify, Bandcamp. Breathe With You, BREATHE. And next week we'll start rolling out our piece, which is called Dressed for Class. And some
You
really
got the
nice.
art?
Huh? No, I don't have it with me. Actually, I do, but we're gonna close out. And
Hey, it's so great to see you guys. We miss you so much.
Oh, we miss you guys so much.
Love,
It's so
love
nice.
to your parents and to the all families and everybody.
Yeah, love to the family too. We love you guys.
Thanks for the music.
Love y'all.
we love you, babies.
Yeah, yeah.
Signing off, Lazarus.
Good night, kids.
Good night.